The night is still resting over the land. A soft darkness lies across the hills and fields. The wind moves slowly through the trees beyond the castle walls. Far away, an owl gives one final call before disappearing into the fading night. Above, a few pale stars remain visible, quietly watching over the sleeping countryside. The castle stands on a gentle rise of land. Its stone walls are cool and silent. Its towers seem almost dreamlike beneath the fading moonlight. Most of the people inside are still asleep. The Lord rests in his chamber. Guards lean against cold stone walls. Servants sleep beneath wool blankets. Even the dogs curled beside doorways remain still. Yet deep inside the castle, beneath the grand halls and private chambers, another world is beginning to wake. This is the kitchen. Long before the castle becomes busy, long before the great hall fills with voices, long before breakfast is served, the kitchen must begin its work. For food never appears by magic. Every loaf of bread, every bowl of soup, every roasted piece of meat, every sweet cake, every cup of ale begins here. And so, while darkness still covers the land, life quietly stirs within the kitchen walls. A small wooden door opens. Cold air slips inside. A kitchen servant enters carrying a lantern. The flame dances gently behind the glass. Its warm light touches stone floors worn smooth by countless footsteps. Shadows stretch across walls blackened by years of smoke. Rows of wooden tables stand silent in the darkness. The servant pauses. For a moment, the kitchen feels like a sleeping giant. Large fireplaces rest quietly along one wall. Iron pots hang from hooks above cold ashes. Baskets sit stacked in corners. Barrels line the walls. Wooden spoons, ladles, and knives wait where they were left the night before. Everything seems asleep. But not for long. The servant walks toward the largest hearth. This fireplace is enormous. It is far larger than those found in ordinary homes. Its opening is wide enough for several people to stand beneath it. Above, the chimney rises high into the castle, carrying smoke away from the rooms below. The servant kneels beside yesterday's ashes. Carefully, he searches for tiny pieces of hidden warmth. Sometimes a few glowing embers survive through the night. Finding them means less work. His hands move gently through gray ash. Then he smiles. A faint orange glow remains. Small. Weak. But alive. He places dry straw nearby. Then a few thin twigs. Slowly he blows. The ember brightens. A tiny spark appears. Then another. Soon a small flame begins to grow. The first fire of the day has awakened. Its light flickers softly across the stone walls. The kitchen no longer feels entirely asleep. The servant adds more wood. The flame grows stronger. The sound of crackling fire fills the room. Outside, darkness still covers the land. Inside, warmth is beginning to return. Another servant arrives. Then another. Soon several lanterns glow throughout the kitchen. Each person begins familiar tasks learned through years of daily routine. Nobody rushes. There is much work ahead, but there is also order. Everyone knows what must be done. One servant sweeps the floor. Another gathers water. A third checks supplies stored from the previous day. The kitchen slowly comes alive. The air smells of wood smoke, fresh straw, cold stone, and the faint scent of bread baked yesterday. The smell lingers in the walls themselves. For centuries, kitchens like this have carried the scent of food. Smoke and bread, herbs and soup, meat and ale. Day after day. Year after year. Generation after generation. Outside, the eastern sky begins to lighten. Only slightly. A pale silver line appears beyond distant fields. Morning is approaching. One of the kitchen boys enters carrying a wooden bucket. He is young. Perhaps 12 years old. His workday begins before sunrise. Like many children serving in castles, he learns by watching older workers. Each day teaches him something new. How to carry water. How to clean pots. How to tend fires. How to sharpen knives. How to prepare vegetables. For now, his tasks are simple. But one day he may become a skilled cook. The boy places the bucket beside a table. The water inside reflects the firelight. Tiny ripples dance across its surface. For a moment he watches them. Then he returns to work. There is always work waiting. The castle kitchen rarely rests. Even when meals are finished, preparation for the next meal has already begun. That is the nature of feeding hundreds of people. The Lord and his family eat. The knights eat. The guards eat. The servants eat. The craftsmen eat. Guests eat. Messengers eat. Travelers sometimes eat. Everyone depends upon the kitchen. And so the kitchen never truly sleeps. As the fire grows stronger, larger logs are added. Soon warmth spreads throughout the room. Cold fingers begin to relax. The workers move more comfortably. Some exchange quiet greetings. Others remain focused on their tasks. Their voices stay low. The morning still feels gentle. Almost peaceful. Near one wall stand enormous barrels. They contain supplies gathered from nearby lands. Grain harvested from fields. Ale brewed months earlier. Salt used to preserve food. Each barrel represents many hours of labor. Farmers worked beneath sun and rain to grow the grain. Millers ground it into flour. Workers transported it to the castle. Everything required effort. Nothing arrived easily. In the medieval world, food was precious. People understood its value deeply. A poor harvest could bring hardship. A harsh winter could test entire communities. Every loaf mattered. Every sack of grain mattered. Every stored vegetable mattered. The castle kitchen lived with this knowledge every day. Nothing useful was wasted if it could be helped. Nearby, baskets hold onions, turnips, leeks, cabbages. Simple foods. Yet important foods. Many meals begin with these humble vegetables. They are not luxurious. They are not rare. But they fill stomachs and provide nourishment. The cooks know their worth. One woman begins sorting vegetables beneath the growing morning light. Her hands move with practiced skill. She has prepared thousands upon thousands of meals. Years of work have made every motion smooth and efficient. She knows exactly how much food the castle requires. She knows which vegetables spoil first. She knows which herbs improve certain soups. She knows how long bread should bake. Knowledge like this rarely appears in books. It lives in memory. It passes from person to person. Generation to generation. Quietly. Like a flame shared from one candle to another. The kitchen continues waking. More workers arrive. More fires are lit. The sound of activity grows slightly louder. Wood knocks against wood. Water splashes into buckets. Footsteps cross the stone floor. Knives tap gently against cutting boards. Nothing feels hurried. Only steady. Only familiar. Outside, dawn finally arrives. Soft golden light touches the castle walls. Birds begin singing. Mist drifts above nearby fields. The world is waking. And inside the castle kitchen, breakfast preparations are already underway. The first meal of the day may seem simple. Bread, porridge, ale, perhaps cheese, perhaps leftover meat from the previous evening. Yet feeding a castle remains a large task. Even simple meals require planning. The cooks understand this well. One worker carries sacks of flour toward a preparation table. The flour is pale and soft. Tiny clouds rise into the air as the sacks are opened. Soon bread making will begin. Bread is one of the most important foods in medieval life. Rich or poor, nearly everyone eats some form of bread. Its quality may differ. Its ingredients may differ. But bread remains a daily companion. The kitchen cannot function without it. The baker arrives shortly after dawn. He moves confidently through the room. Many workers respect his skill. Making good bread is not easy. It requires patience, experience, careful attention. The baker places his hands on the work table. The wood feels familiar beneath his fingers. He has stood here countless mornings, countless seasons, countless years. Now another day begins. Another batch of bread waits to be made. The fire crackles nearby. The castle slowly wakes above. And deep within its stone heart, the kitchen continues its quiet work. A place of warmth. A place of routine. A place where hundreds of lives connect through the simple act of sharing food. The morning has only just begun. And much remains to be done. The first light of morning now reaches farther across the castle grounds. Outside the walls, the mist still lingers above the fields. Small drops of dew cling to blades of grass. Birds move among hedges and trees, beginning their daily search for food. The sky is slowly changing from silver to pale gold. Inside the castle kitchen, the day is already well underway. The great hearth burns steadily now. Warmth spreads through the room. The cold feeling left behind by the night has nearly vanished. Shadows still dance across the stone walls, but they are softer now, mixed with the growing light entering through narrow windows. The baker stands beside a long wooden table. Before him sits a mound of flour. His hands are dusted white. Nearby, another servant carries a bucket of water drawn from the castle well. The water is cold and clear. The baker pours some into a large wooden bowl. Then he begins mixing. Slowly. Carefully. There is no need to hurry. Bread rewards patience. His hands move through the flour. Water and grain come together. A simple mixture. Yet one that has fed people for countless generations. As he works, the dough slowly changes. What began as loose flour becomes something smooth and living. Something that can grow. Something that will soon become food. The baker presses his hands firmly into the dough. Again and again. A steady rhythm develops. Push. Fold. Turn. Push. Fold. Turn. The sound is soft. Almost soothing. The work requires strength, but it is a familiar strength. A practiced strength. Years have taught him exactly how the dough should feel beneath his fingers. Nearby, a young kitchen boy watches quietly. He has seen this process many times. Still, he remains curious. There is something comforting about watching experienced hands perform familiar tasks. The baker notices the boy watching. Without speaking much, He gestures toward a smaller portion of dough. The boy smiles. Carefully, he begins copying the movements. His dough is uneven. His folds are clumsy. But that does not matter. Everyone begins somewhere. The baker was once a boy standing beside another baker. Learning. Watching. Making mistakes. This is how knowledge travels through time. Not through grand speeches. Not through important books. But through daily work. Through observation. Through practice. Through quiet repetition. The morning continues. Across the kitchen, another group of workers tends the fires. The hearth is important. But it is not the only source of heat. Large ovens must also be prepared. These ovens stand nearby, built from stone and clay. They are enormous compared to those found in ordinary homes. Their thick walls hold heat for many hours. But warming them takes time. Wood is carried from storage. Logs are stacked carefully. One worker kneels beside the oven opening. Soon a new fire begins to grow inside. At first, the flames are small. Then larger. Then larger still. The oven must become extremely hot before bread can be baked. This process cannot be rushed. The workers understand this. Much of medieval life involves waiting. Waiting for crops to grow. Waiting for seasons to change. Waiting for dough to rise. Waiting for ovens to heat. Waiting for meals to cook. Patience is woven into daily life. As the ovens warm, another servant enters carrying herbs gathered from storage. Bundles of dried rosemary, sage, parsley, thyme. The scent spreads gently through the room. Earthy, fresh, comforting. These herbs add flavor to many dishes. A small amount can transform an ordinary meal. The kitchen staff handle them carefully. Every ingredient has value. Near the herb bundle stands an elderly cook. Her hair has begun turning gray. Lines mark her face. They tell the story of many years spent beside fires and ovens. Many years spent feeding hungry people. She unties one bundle and breathes in its fragrance. For a moment she simply stands there. The scent reminds her of countless mornings. Countless meals. Countless seasons. Years pass. People come and go. Yet the kitchen remains. The work continues. The routines endure. A castle changes slowly. Its walls remain standing through generations. The kitchen becomes part of that continuity. A steady heartbeat within the stone structure. Above the kitchen, life begins stirring throughout the castle. Servants wake and dress. Guards change shifts. Doors open. Footsteps echo through hallways. The castle is beginning its day. But down here, much has already been accomplished. Several hours of work often take place before many people even open their eyes. The cooks know this. They do not complain. This is simply the rhythm of their world. A large iron pot now hangs above the main fire. Water inside begins warming. Soon grains will be added. Porridge is a common breakfast. Simple. Filling. Reliable. It provides energy for the long day ahead. One servant pours oats into the pot. The grains swirl slowly through the steaming water. A wooden spoon stirs the mixture. The smell is mild but pleasant. Warm grain. Wood smoke. Morning air. Together they create a scent familiar to generations of castle workers. Nearby, loaves prepared the previous day are arranged on a table. Some will be served this morning. Others will be used throughout the day. The crusts are golden brown. The smell remains inviting. Fresh bread possesses a special quality. Its aroma fills a room gently, quietly, comfortingly. Even people accustomed to eating bread every day often pause when they smell it baking. The baker checks the dough again. It has begun rising. Satisfied, he nods. Soon it will be ready. Outside the kitchen windows, sunlight now reaches the castle courtyard. The stones glow softly beneath the morning sun. A stable worker leads horses across the yard. A few chickens wander nearby. Workers move between buildings carrying tools and supplies. The day grows busier. Yet from within the kitchen, these activities seem distant. The kitchen has its own world, its own pace, its own sounds. The crackling of fire, the scrape of wooden bowls, the chopping of vegetables, the quiet conversations of workers, the gentle bubbling of soup. These sounds create a kind of music. A simple music. A daily music. One that has played here for many years. At another table, vegetables are being prepared. Onions are peeled. Leeks are sliced. Turnips are cleaned. The work is repetitive. Yet there is comfort in repetition. The workers know exactly what to do. Their hands move almost automatically. Years of experience guide every motion. As the morning advances, the kitchen grows warmer. The fires burn brighter. The ovens approach the proper temperature. The scent of baking begins filling the air. The first loaves are shaped, placed carefully onto wooden boards, then carried toward the ovens. The baker examines each one. Not because they must be perfect, but because attention matters. Care matters. Even ordinary food deserves care. The oven doors open. A wave of heat rushes outward. The baker slides the loaves inside. Then the doors close once more. Now comes another period of waiting. The bread will bake. The crusts will darken. The aroma will spread. And eventually, the loaves will emerge ready for the day's meals. The kitchen boy watches closely. Every step interests him. Perhaps because bread seems almost magical. Flour becomes dough. Dough becomes bread. Simple ingredients become nourishment. A transformation occurs. Not dramatic. Not mysterious. Yet remarkable all the same. Across the room, breakfast service draws closer. Bowls are prepared. Tables are organized. Servants ready themselves to carry food throughout the castle. Soon hungry people will appear. The quiet preparation of the early morning will give way to the steady flow of meals and responsibilities. But for now, there remains a peaceful moment. The fires burn. The bread bakes. Steam rises gently from the porridge. Sunlight grows brighter. The kitchen breathes calmly within the castle's stone walls. And another ordinary medieval day unfolds exactly as countless days have unfolded before. Slowly. Steadily. One task following another. One meal leading to the next. The great castle has awakened. Yet this is only the beginning of the day. Much work still lies ahead. And as the scent of fresh bread spreads through the warm morning air, the kitchen prepares for everything that is still to come. The scent of fresh bread now fills the kitchen. Warm air drifts from the ovens. The crackling fires continue their quiet work. Sunlight reaches farther through the narrow windows, touching the stone floor with pale golden light. Morning has fully arrived. The castle is awake. And breakfast is nearly ready. The baker removes the first loaves from the oven. Using a long wooden peel, he carefully slides them onto a waiting table. The crusts are golden and firm. Thin wisps of steam rise from their surfaces. For a few moments, nobody touches them. Fresh bread needs time. The heat must settle. The loaves must rest. Even bread has its own pace. The workers know this well. Nearby, the great pot of porridge continues to simmer. A cook stirs slowly with a wooden paddle almost as tall as a child. The thick mixture moves in gentle circles. Steam rises upward and disappears among the shadows near the ceiling. The smell is simple. Warm grain. A hint of smoke. A comforting scent that promises a filling meal. One by one, servants begin gathering wooden trays. Bowls are arranged. Loaves are sliced. Pitchers are filled. Everything must be ready before the first requests arrive from above. No bells ring dramatically. No loud announcements are made. The day simply continues. Like a river flowing steadily onward. A young servant lifts a basket of bread. Another carries a tray of wooden bowls. Together they move toward a staircase leading from the kitchen into the upper parts of the castle. Their footsteps echo softly against stone walls. The staircase is narrow. Its steps have been worn smooth by countless feet over many years. Thousands of meals have traveled this path. Thousands of servants have climbed these same stairs. Morning after morning. Year after year. Generation after generation. The castle remembers through these worn stones. At the top of the staircase lies a corridor. The air here feels cooler. Quieter. Light enters through narrow windows cut deep into the thick walls. The servants continue walking. Soon they reach the great hall. This is one of the most important rooms in the castle. By day, it serves many purposes. Meals are eaten here. Meetings take place here. Guests are welcomed here. Stories are shared here. The hall is large and impressive. Heavy wooden beams stretch across the ceiling. Long tables stand arranged throughout the room. Tall windows allow sunlight to enter. The walls display banners and decorations collected over many years. Yet at this early hour, the hall remains peaceful. Only a few people have arrived. A servant begins placing bread upon the tables. Another arranges bowls. The preparations happen quietly. Everything has a rhythm. Everyone knows their duties. Before long, more people begin entering. Castle workers arrive first. Some have already spent hours tending animals, cleaning rooms, or guarding gates. They welcome the sight of breakfast. Not with excitement. Simply with appreciation. Food is important. Food provides strength. Food sustains another day of labor. One by one they take their places. Conversations remain soft. Morning often carries a certain calmness. People are awake, but not yet fully absorbed by the demands of the day. For a little while, there is still peace. Back in the kitchen, work continues without pause. Breakfast may be leaving the room, but other tasks are already beginning. Lunch preparations must start. Ingredients must be gathered. Supplies must be checked. The kitchen never focuses on only one meal. It is always looking ahead. Always preparing for what comes next. An older cook stands beside a large wooden table covered with vegetables. She begins chopping onions. The knife moves steadily. The pieces fall into a waiting bowl. Nearby, another worker slices cabbage. A third cleans carrots brought from storage. The sound of knives tapping against wood becomes part of the kitchen's daily music. Outside, the sun climbs higher. Light spreads across the castle courtyard. Workers move about their duties. Stable hands brush horses. Blacksmiths prepare tools. Messengers arrive through the gates. Life unfolds everywhere. Yet deep within the kitchen, the focus remains fixed upon food. The kitchen is a world unto itself. A place where time is measured by meals rather than hours. Breakfast. Midday meal. Evening meal. Then preparation begins again. The cycle never truly ends. The baker now turns his attention toward another batch of dough. The castle requires enormous amounts of bread. Far more than visitors might imagine. Hundreds of people depend upon it. A single day's supply represents many hours of work. The baker knows this. His hands return to their familiar rhythm. Push. Fold. Turn. Push. Fold. Turn. The motions are so practiced they seem almost effortless. Yet each loaf carries the result of years of experience. The young kitchen boy watches once again. Today he has been assigned additional tasks. He gathers empty baskets. Carries wood. Fetches water. Simple jobs. But important jobs. In a castle kitchen, every task matters. Even small duties help the larger machine continue operating smoothly. The boy enjoys watching the older workers. Each person seems to possess a special skill. The baker understands dough. The cooks understand flavor. The fire tenders understand heat. The butchers understand meat. Together they create something larger than any individual effort. A meal. A shared necessity. A daily act that connects everyone inside the castle walls. Meanwhile, breakfast in the great hall continues. Wooden bowls are emptied. Bread is broken apart. Ale is poured. People eat quietly. Some discuss the day's responsibilities. Others simply enjoy a few moments of rest before work begins again. No meal lasts forever. Soon bowls become empty. Benches scrape softly against the floor. People rise and depart. The hall slowly clears. Another meal completed. Another ordinary morning. Yet ordinary moments often form the greatest part of human life. Most days are not marked by grand events. Most days are built from simple routines. Preparing food. Sharing meals. Completing work. Resting at night. The kitchen understands this truth better than most places. For it exists at the center of daily life. Every ordinary day passes through its doors. Back below, the fires continue burning. Fresh logs are added. The warmth remains constant. One servant carries ashes away from a smaller hearth. Another scrubs large cooking pots. The cleaning never ends. Neither does the preparation. One task flows naturally into another. The workers rarely stop moving. Yet they do not seem hurried. Their pace remains steady. Measured. Comfortable. The rhythm has become part of them. Years of repetition have shaped their movements. Shaped their habits. Shaped their lives. Near one wall, storage shelves hold precious supplies. Sacks of grain. Bundles of herbs. Jars of preserved foods. Barrels of ale. The kitchen depends upon these stores. Especially during winter. When fields produce little and travel becomes difficult. Careful planning helps ensure the castle remains fed throughout the year. Nothing can be taken for granted. Every harvest matters. Every stored ingredient matters. The workers understand this deeply. The memory of difficult winters lives within many communities. Food security is never ignored. As the morning continues, sunlight grows stronger. The kitchen windows glow softly. Dust particles drift through beams of light. For a brief moment, the room appears almost peaceful enough to forget the endless labor taking place. Almost. Yet work continues everywhere. Someone stirs a pot. Someone sharpens a knife. Someone carries water. Someone cleans a table. Someone prepares vegetables. Everywhere there is motion. Gentle motion. Purposeful motion. The castle breathes through the efforts of these workers. And nowhere is that breathing more constant than here. The morning meal has passed. But the day has only begun. Ahead lie new tasks. New preparations. New challenges. The kitchen will soon become even busier as thoughts turn toward the midday meal. Ingredients will be gathered. Fires adjusted. Recipes remembered. Supplies measured. The great rhythm of castle life moves forward without interruption. And at its heart, beneath stone ceilings darkened by centuries of smoke, the kitchen continues its endless work. Warm. Steady. Familiar. Like a fire that never truly goes out. The morning continues to unfold across the castle. The sun has climbed higher now, casting a gentle light over the walls, towers, and courtyards. The mist that rested upon the fields has disappeared. Dew dries slowly beneath the warmth of the growing day. Inside the kitchen, breakfast feels like a distant memory. Bowls have been washed. Tables have been cleaned. The last crumbs have been swept away. Yet the workers have hardly noticed the passing of time. Their attention remains fixed upon the next task. And soon, the next task arrives. From somewhere beyond the kitchen entrance comes the sound of wheels. Slow. Steady. Wood creaking against wood. A cart is approaching. One of the servants glances toward the doorway. He already knows what it means. The day's deliveries have begun. Food does not simply appear inside a castle. It must come from somewhere. Fields. Gardens. Orchards. Pastures. Rivers. Woodlands. Countless hands work together to supply the kitchen. Most of those people never stand beside the great hearths. Many never enter the castle itself. Yet their labor is present in every meal. The sound of the cart grows louder. Soon the doorway fills with morning light. A farmer steps inside. His boots carry traces of dirt from the road. His face is weathered from long days spent outdoors. Behind him stand several workers unloading baskets and sacks. The kitchen staff greet them with familiar nods. Many of these deliveries happen regularly. The faces are well known. The routines are understood. There is comfort in such familiarity. One basket contains cabbages. Large green heads wrapped tightly in their leaves. Another holds onions. Dozens of them. Their dry outer skins rustle softly as they are moved. Nearby sit baskets of turnips and carrots. Fresh from the earth. Still carrying a faint scent of soil. The vegetables are carefully inspected. Not because anyone expects problems. But because every supply matters. Every ingredient must last. Nothing should be wasted. The older cook who sorted vegetables earlier now oversees the process. Her experienced eyes move across each basket. Years of practice allow her to notice details others might miss. A damaged vegetable. A sign of spoilage. A bundle stored improperly. Small things. Yet important things. The kitchen depends upon such careful attention. Outside, another cart arrives. This one carries grain. Heavy sacks are unloaded one by one. Each sack represents months of work. First the planting, then the growing season, then the harvest, then the grinding. Only after all of that does flour reach the castle. A loaf of bread may appear simple, but behind every loaf stand countless hours of labor. The workers know this. Perhaps that is why they treat food with respect. Not because it is luxurious, but because it requires effort. Effort deserves appreciation. The sacks are carried into storage. The room where grain is kept feels cool and dry. Careful storage helps prevent spoilage. The castle cannot afford carelessness. A damaged supply today may mean hunger months later. The responsibility is taken seriously. As the grain is stored away, another delivery arrives. This time from the castle gardens. The gardens lie within protected areas near the walls. Their vegetables and herbs grow under careful supervision. A gardener enters carrying bundles of fresh herbs. Parsley, sage, mint, thyme. The scent follows him into the kitchen. Fresh and green. Almost like a small piece of summer itself. For a moment, the smoky kitchen air mixes with the fragrance of living plants. The combination feels pleasant, balanced, comforting. The herbs are placed upon a table. Workers begin sorting them immediately. Some will be used today. Others will be dried for future meals. Nothing useful is ignored. Every leaf has purpose. Every bundle has value. Near the doorway stands the young kitchen boy. He watches the deliveries with interest. Each cart feels like a small journey arriving from another world. The fields beyond the walls. The gardens beside the castle. The villages scattered across the countryside. All of them seem distant when viewed from the kitchen. Yet every day they send pieces of themselves here. The kitchen becomes a meeting place for the entire region. Its ingredients tell the story of the surrounding land. The grain speaks of fields. The vegetables speak of gardens. The herbs speak of careful cultivation. Everything carries the memory of where it came from. One worker begins organizing the vegetables. Cabbages in one area. Turnips in another. Onions stacked nearby. The arrangement may appear simple, but order matters. A busy kitchen depends upon knowing exactly where everything is located. Without order, confusion grows. With order, work flows smoothly. The castle kitchen has learned this lesson over many generations. Across the room, the fires continue burning steadily. Their warmth never fades. Even while deliveries arrive, meals must still be prepared. The ovens remain active. The pots remain full. The work never pauses. Instead, different tasks overlap like threads woven together. One person stores grain. Another prepares vegetables. Another bakes bread. Another tends fires. Together they create a constant rhythm. A rhythm that fills the kitchen from dawn until night. Soon another visitor arrives. A fisherman from a nearby river. He carries several baskets. Inside lie freshly caught fish. Their scales glimmer softly in the sunlight. The kitchen staff welcome the delivery. Fish often provides an important source of food, especially during religious fasting periods when meat is avoided. The fish are quickly taken for cleaning and preparation. Nothing waits long in a working kitchen. Everything moves forward. Everything enters the flow of daily activity. Outside, the courtyard grows busier. Workers pass carrying tools. Messengers arrive and depart. Dogs wander between buildings. The castle feels alive. Yet inside the kitchen, attention remains focused upon food. Food is the foundation beneath everything else. Without it, no work can continue. No guards can stand watch. No craftsman can labor. No servants can serve. The kitchen supports them all. As the morning approaches midday, sunlight pours through the windows more strongly. The room brightens. Dust drifts lazily through golden beams of light. The workers barely notice. Their focus remains upon their tasks. Years of habit have made concentration natural. A cook begins examining the newly delivered vegetables. Some will become soup. Some will accompany roasted meats. Some will be preserved. Each ingredient has its future already planned. The kitchen thinks ahead constantly. Today's delivery may help create tomorrow's meal. Or next week's. Or even food months from now. Planning is as important as cooking. Perhaps more important. The older workers understand this deeply. Experience has taught them that preparation prevents hardship. A well-managed kitchen brings comfort. A poorly managed kitchen creates problems. The difference often lies in small decisions made day after day. Near one wall, several workers begin hanging herbs to dry. Bundles sway gently in the warm air. Their shadows stretch across the stone. Soon the herbs will lose moisture and become suitable for long-term storage. The process takes time. But medieval life is familiar with time. Many important things happen slowly. Bread rises slowly. Crops grow slowly. Cheese matures slowly. Herbs dry slowly. Patience remains a constant companion. The kitchen accepts this naturally. By now, the deliveries have mostly been completed. The carts begin departing. Farmers return to their fields. Gardeners return to their plants. Fishermen return to the river. Their work continues elsewhere. But traces of their labor remain behind. Stacked upon shelves. Stored within barrels. Arranged upon tables. Waiting to become meals. Waiting to nourish the people living within the castle walls. The kitchen grows slightly quieter. Not silent. Never silent. But quieter. The excitement of arriving deliveries has passed. Now comes the steady work of transforming ingredients into food. Lunch preparations are beginning in earnest. Knives are sharpened. Vegetables are gathered. Pots are prepared. The next stage of the day approaches. The workers move calmly through familiar routines. The fires glow warmly. The air smells of herbs, grain, and smoke. Sunlight fills the room. And the great kitchen continues its endless cycle of receiving, preparing, cooking, and serving. A cycle repeated thousands of times before. A cycle that will continue thousands of times more. Slowly. Steadily. Without hurry. Without pause. Like the passing of the seasons themselves. The sun now stands higher above the castle. Morning has slowly drifted toward midday. Outside the walls, the fields shimmer beneath gentle sunlight. Workers continue their tasks. Horses pull carts along distant roads. Birds move through the hedgerows. The day feels settled and calm. Inside the castle kitchen, the pace remains steady. The deliveries have been stored. The vegetables have been sorted. The grain has been stacked neatly away. The fish have been cleaned. Now comes the quiet transformation. The moment when simple ingredients begin their journey toward becoming a meal. The great hearth glows warmly. Orange flames flicker beneath iron pots. Smoke rises upward into the tall chimney. The familiar scent of wood fire fills the room. It is a smell that clings to the kitchen. A smell carried in clothing. A smell resting in the wooden beams overhead. A smell that has lingered here for generations. One of the cooks approaches a large table. Before her sits a pile of onions. Their pale skins catch the sunlight. Beside them lie turnips, carrots, and leeks gathered earlier that morning. She reaches for a knife. The blade has been sharpened carefully. Its edge glides smoothly through the vegetables. Slice after slice falls onto the wooden board. The work is repetitive. Yet it feels peaceful. The rhythm of preparation settles naturally into the room. Nearby, another cook performs the same task. Then another. Soon several workers are chopping, peeling, and sorting vegetables. The sounds blend together. A knife tapping wood. A basket being moved. A pot lid gently lifted. The crackle of fire. The kitchen possesses its own quiet music. No instruments are needed. The daily work provides all the sound required. At the largest hearth, an enormous iron pot hangs above the flames. Water inside has been heating for some time. Tiny bubbles rise from the bottom. Steam curls into the air. Soon vegetables begin finding their way into the pot. First onions. Then leeks. Then carrots. Then turnips. Each ingredient disappears beneath the surface. Slowly the water changes. The clear liquid becomes richer, fuller, more flavorful. The beginning of a soup. Simple perhaps, but nourishing. The cook stirs with a long wooden paddle. The vegetables circle gently through the steaming broth. Nothing dramatic happens. Only time and heat working together. As they always have. As they always will. Across the room, another group prepares fish. The catch delivered earlier now rests upon a wooden table. Silver scales catch the light. The workers move carefully. Fish requires attention. Each piece is cleaned thoroughly. Then seasoned with herbs. The scent of parsley and thyme drifts through the air. Fresh. Green. Comforting. The herbs seem to carry memories of gardens warmed by sunlight. For a moment, the kitchen feels connected to the outside world. Connected to the fields. The rivers. The orchards. The earth itself. The young kitchen boy moves between tables carrying supplies. His arms are busy. His feet rarely stop moving. Yet he does not seem unhappy. In fact, he enjoys the activity. Every corner of the kitchen offers something interesting to observe. The baker shaping dough. The cook stirring soup. The fire tenders feeding logs into the hearth. Every task appears important. Every worker possesses knowledge he hopes to learn one day. He pauses briefly beside the great soup pot. Steam brushes against his face. The smell is wonderful. Warm vegetables. Fresh herbs. Wood smoke. Together they create an aroma that speaks of comfort and security. Soon many people throughout the castle will enjoy this meal. Though most will never see the work that created it. The boy understands this. The kitchen often remains unseen. Hidden beneath the castle. Working quietly while life continues above. Yet its influence reaches everywhere. No feast can happen without it. No ordinary meal can happen without it. The kitchen touches every life within the walls. The baker now returns from checking another batch of bread. The ovens remain warm. New loaves have already been placed inside. The scent of baking fills the room once again. Few smells are more welcoming. Fresh bread possesses a special ability to make a place feel alive. Perhaps because it has accompanied humanity for so long. Perhaps because it speaks of nourishment and care. Whatever the reason, the smell drifts gently through the kitchen, wrapping itself around every task. Near one wall stands an older servant responsible for maintaining supplies. He studies shelves carefully. His eyes move from barrel to barrel, from sack to sack. He counts silently, estimating what remains, considering what will be needed. His work may appear less exciting than cooking, yet it is equally important. Without careful management, shortages could occur. Without planning, meals become difficult. The kitchen depends upon foresight. Someone must always be thinking ahead, always preparing for tomorrow while serving today. The servant has done this for many years. Experience has taught him patience. He understands that successful kitchens are built upon small daily decisions, one careful choice at a time. Outside the windows, the courtyard grows brighter. Workers cross back and forth beneath the sun. Some carry tools. Some carry supplies. Others simply move from one duty to another. The castle feels busy now. Fully awake. Fully engaged in the work of the day. Yet beneath all of that activity, the kitchen remains the steady heartbeat. Its rhythm never changes. Fire. Preparation. Cooking. Serving. Cleaning. Then beginning again. As the soup simmers, its aroma deepens. The vegetables soften. The broth becomes richer. The cook tastes a small spoonful. Not because she doubts the recipe, but because experience teaches observation. Every batch differs slightly. Every ingredient carries its own character. Cooking requires attention, even after years of practice. Nearby, another pot begins warming. This one will hold a stew. Pieces of fish are added. Herbs follow. Then vegetables. Slowly another meal begins taking shape. The kitchen often prepares several dishes at once. Each pot tells its own story. Each meal follows its own path. Together they create the nourishment required by the castle. The workers move comfortably through the growing warmth. The fires burn steadily. The ovens remain active. The sunlight shifts slowly across the floor. Time passes almost unnoticed. The work itself becomes a clock. Tasks mark the hours. Not numbers. Not bells. Simply duties completed one after another. The kitchen has lived by this rhythm for generations. Near the herb bundles hanging overhead, a cook pauses for a moment. She looks around the room. The sight is familiar. Perhaps too familiar to attract much attention. Yet there is beauty here. Not grand beauty. Not the beauty of banners or jewels. A quieter beauty. The beauty of useful work. The beauty of cooperation. The beauty of people performing tasks they know well. The kitchen may never appear in songs sung by traveling minstrels. Yet it remains essential. Its labor supports everything else. Without it, the castle could not function. As midday approaches, preparations near completion. The soup continues simmering. The bread cools upon wooden racks. The fish stew thickens slowly. Servants begin gathering trays once again. Soon food will travel upward through the castle. Soon bowls will be filled. Soon tables will welcome another meal. The workers know exactly what comes next. They have lived this moment countless times before. Yet repetition has not diminished its importance. Every meal matters. Every day matters. Every task contributes to the larger whole. The fires glow softly. The kitchen hums with quiet activity. The scents of bread, herbs, and soup drip through the air. And another meal gradually emerges from the careful hands of those who serve within the castle kitchen. A simple meal. A nourishing meal. A meal prepared with patience. Prepared with experience. Prepared through the steady work of an ordinary medieval day. And outside, beneath the bright afternoon sun, the world continues turning slowly onward. The midday meal is nearly ready. The great pots continue to simmer gently above the fires. The bread has cooled enough to be handled. The fish stew releases a rich, comforting aroma that fills the warm kitchen air. Around the room, workers make their final preparations. Wooden bowls are arranged. Loaves are sliced. Serving spoons are gathered. Pitchers are filled. The familiar routine unfolds without hurry. Nobody needs instructions. Each person already knows where to stand, what to carry, and where the food must go. Years of repetition have made these tasks feel as natural as breathing. The young kitchen boy helps stack bread into large wicker baskets. The fresh loaves feel warm against his hands. The smell is wonderful. He breathes it in for a moment before continuing his work. Nearby, servants carefully fill bowls with steaming soup. The broth moves gently as each bowl is carried. Thin curls of steam rise into the air. The scent of onions, herbs, and vegetables follows behind. Soon the kitchen doorway becomes busy once again. Servants move in and out carrying trays. Their footsteps echo softly through the stone passages. Some head toward the great hall. Others carry meals to smaller chambers. Food must reach many different places within the castle. Not everyone eats in the same room. Not everyone receives the same meal. Yet all depend upon the kitchen. The kitchen remains the center from which nourishment spreads throughout the castle. One servant climbs the familiar staircase carrying a tray of bread. The stone steps curve upward through thick walls. Light enters through narrow windows. Dust drifts lazily through the sunbeams. The castle feels peaceful despite its activity. Everywhere people are working. Yet the mood remains calm. Steady. Orderly. The servant reaches the great hall. By now, the room is far more active than it was during breakfast. Voices drift through the air. Workers arrive in small groups. Benches fill gradually. The long tables begin to take on their familiar appearance. Bowls. Bread. Pitchers. Simple arrangements repeated day after day. There is comfort in such consistency. The hall may host grand feasts on special occasions. But most days are ordinary. Most days are built from practical meals and familiar routines. And there is a quiet beauty in that. Another servant enters carrying soup. The warm scent spreads quickly. People glance toward the tray. Not with impatience. Simply with appreciation. Many have already spent hours working. The meal offers a welcome pause. A moment of rest within the day. Back in the kitchen, the work continues. The meal may be leaving the room, but preparation never truly ends. Large pots must be monitored. Additional bread may still be needed. Ingredients for the evening meal are already waiting. The cycle moves forward constantly. One task flowing into the next. Near the hearth, the older cook watches the remaining soup. She stirs slowly. The wooden paddle moves through the broth with practiced ease. Her face reflects years spent beside fires. Years measured not by calendars, but by meals. Breakfast after breakfast. Lunch after lunch. Winter after winter. The kitchen has been her world for much of her life. and she understands its rhythms deeply. She knows how a room sounds when everything is running smoothly. She knows when something feels wrong. She knows how much food will likely remain after a meal. Such knowledge cannot be learned quickly. It arrives slowly. Built one day at a time. Across the castle, the midday meal continues reaching its destinations. Some trays travel to private chambers. The lord and his family may dine separately from many of the workers. Their meals often include additional dishes. Perhaps finer bread. Perhaps more meat. Perhaps imported spices obtained through trade. Yet even these meals begin in the same kitchen. The same fires. The same ovens. The same hard-working hands. The kitchen serves everyone in its own way. In one chamber, a guard receives his meal before returning to duty. In another, a visiting messenger pauses briefly to eat before continuing his journey. Elsewhere, servants gather together during their short break. Food creates moments of connection. People sit together, talk quietly, share stories, exchange news, then return to their responsibilities. Meals provide more than nourishment. They provide small pauses within busy lives. Moments to gather strength. Moments to feel human companionship. Back below, the kitchen boy helps clean empty preparation tables. Vegetable scraps have already been collected. Tools are returned to their places. The room begins shifting toward its next phase. For even while lunch is being served, thoughts are already turning toward evening. This may seem surprising. Yet feeding a castle requires constant planning. The evening meal cannot wait until afternoon. Preparations must begin early. The workers understand this naturally. They have lived within this rhythm for years. One of the cooks begins examining ingredients reserved for later. Several onions. A basket of carrots. Fresh herbs. A portion of fish. Some preserved foods from storage. The possibilities form quietly in her mind. She already knows what dishes can be prepared. Already knows how long they will take. Already knows what must happen next. The kitchen runs upon experience. Upon memory. Upon knowledge passed from one generation to another. The fires continue burning. Their warmth remains constant. Even on the hottest summer days, the hearths must stay active. Cooking requires heat. Bread requires heat. The kitchen depends upon fire. Fire shapes nearly everything that happens within these walls. The workers respect it, care for it, watch it closely. A neglected fire can cause problems. A properly tended fire becomes a reliable partner. The fire tenders understand this relationship better than anyone. They move quietly from hearth to hearth, adding wood when necessary, removing excess ash, adjusting logs, maintaining balance. Their work often goes unnoticed. Yet without them, the kitchen would quickly struggle. Every role matters here. Every task contributes. Outside the windows, the afternoon begins slowly approaching. The sunlight shifts. Shadows lengthen slightly across the courtyard. The bright energy of morning softens into something gentler. Workers continue moving through the castle grounds. The day advances steadily. Within the kitchen, the midday rush gradually settles. Most meals have now been delivered. Many bowls have been emptied. Some trays begin returning. Servants carry them back down the stone staircases. Empty dishes. Crumbs. Signs that another meal has successfully reached its destination. The kitchen receives them quietly. Washing begins almost immediately. Large tubs of water are prepared. Bowls are cleaned. Spoons are scrubbed. Nothing remains idle for long. The room transitions smoothly from serving food to cleaning up afterward. Then preparation begins again. The endless cycle continues. The kitchen seems almost timeless because of this. One day resembles another. One season resembles another. Yet within that repetition lies stability. The people who work here know what tomorrow will bring. The fires will need tending. Bread will need baking. Meals will need preparing. The certainty carries its own comfort. As afternoon light fills the room, the older cook glances toward the windows. For a moment she watches the sunlight. Then she returns to her work. There is always work. Yet there is also satisfaction. The castle has eaten. People are nourished. The kitchen has fulfilled another important duty. Not through glory. Not through recognition. But through steady effort. Through skill. Through patience. The great castle above may appear powerful. Its towers may dominate the landscape. Its walls may seem strong and permanent. Yet much of that strength depends upon simple things. Bread. Soup. Warm meals shared throughout the day. And those simple things begin here. Beside the fires. Among the pots and ovens. Within the warm heart of the medieval castle kitchen. The afternoon now stretches ahead. Quiet. Steady. Full of familiar tasks. And the workers prepare themselves for everything still to come. The afternoon settles gently over the castle. Outside, the brightest hours of the day have arrived. Sunlight rests upon the stone walls and towers. The fields beyond the castle shimmer softly beneath the summer sky. A warm breeze moves through distant trees, carrying the quiet sounds of the countryside. Inside the kitchen, life continues at its familiar pace. The midday meal has passed. The busiest rush is over. For a little while, the atmosphere becomes calmer. Not idle. Never idle. But calmer. The great fires still burn. Pots still simmer. Workers still move from task to task. Yet there is a brief feeling of space between one meal and the next. A chance to breathe. A chance to focus on smaller duties. A chance to notice the people who spend their lives here. For the kitchen is more than stone walls and cooking pots. It is also a community. A small world filled with individuals whose days revolve around food, fire, and service. The baker stands near his work table. He wipes flour from his hands and examines a fresh batch of dough. His movements are slow and practiced. Years have shaped every motion. He rarely needs to think about what comes next. His hands already know. The dough feels familiar beneath his fingers. Almost like an old friend. Day after day. Year after year. The same rhythm continues. And somehow, he never grows tired of it. Bread remains important. Bread remains necessary. As long as people need food, the baker's work will matter. Nearby, the young kitchen boy carries a bundle of firewood across the room. His steps are careful. The wood is heavy. Yet he manages. Each week he grows a little stronger. Each month he learns a little more. The kitchen serves as his classroom. Not a classroom filled with books. But a classroom filled with experience. He learns by watching. By helping. By making mistakes. The older workers rarely offer long lessons. Instead, they teach through daily example. A nod. A correction. A demonstration. Knowledge passes quietly from one generation to the next. just as it has for centuries. Near one of the windows sits an older servant sorting dried herbs. Bundles lie spread across a wooden table. Some are tied neatly together. Others are being separated and stored. The scent is gentle. Rosemary, sage, thyme, mint. Each herb carries memories of gardens and summer sunshine. The servant works carefully. No movement is wasted. No effort is rushed. She has spent many years performing tasks like this. Years measured not by celebrations or grand events, but by ordinary days. And ordinary days make up most of a human life. The kitchen understands this truth well. It is a place built upon ordinary days. A place where small tasks matter. A place where routine becomes tradition. Across the room, a cook sharpens a knife. The blade glides across a whetstone. Back and forth. Back and forth. The sound is soft. Almost peaceful. Good tools are valuable. A sharp knife makes work easier. Safer. Faster. The workers care for their tools because they depend upon them. Wooden spoons. Iron pots. Knives. Bowls. Each object serves a purpose. Many have been used for years. Some perhaps for decades. The kitchen respects useful things. Nothing is discarded carelessly. Everything earns its place through service. The older cook who oversees much of the kitchen moves slowly between tables. Her eyes notice everything. A misplaced basket. A fire burning too low. A pot requiring attention. Years of experience have trained her to see details others miss. The workers trust her judgment. She has guided countless meals from preparation to completion. She remembers difficult winters. Abundant harvests. Visiting nobles. Unexpected guests. Through it all, the kitchen continued functioning. And she remained part of its steady rhythm. Sometimes new servants arrive. Young and uncertain. Sometimes older workers leave. Retirement. Marriage. Illness. Or simply the passage of time. People change. The kitchen remains. Like a river flowing steadily onward. Always moving. Always continuing. The afternoon light shifts gradually across the floor. Golden beams travel slowly from one side of the room to the other. Dust floats through the sunlight. Tiny particles dancing in the warm air. For a moment, the scene feels almost timeless. The fires glow. The workers move quietly. The herbs hang drying overhead. Nothing seems hurried. Nothing seems urgent. Only steady work. Steady life. Steady time. One of the younger cooks pauses to drink water. The cool liquid offers relief from the warmth of the hearths. Working in a medieval kitchen can be physically demanding. The fires create constant heat. Heavy pots must be lifted. Wood must be carried. Meals must be prepared regardless of weather. Winter brings cold. Summer brings heat. The kitchen operates through it all. The workers adapt. They always have. Outside, a cloud drifts across the sun. The courtyard grows slightly darker. Then bright again. The change passes almost unnoticed. Inside, the routines continue uninterrupted. A servant sweeps the floor. Another cleans a preparation table. Someone organizes supplies. Someone tends a fire. Every task contributes to the larger whole. The kitchen functions because many hands work together. No single person could accomplish everything alone. That lesson becomes clear quickly in a place like this. Cooperation is not merely helpful. It is necessary. The young kitchen boy understands this more with each passing day. At first, he saw only individual jobs. Now he begins seeing connections. The baker needs flour. The flour depends upon grain. The grain depends upon farmers. The cooks need fire. The fire needs wood. The meals need bowls. The bowls need cleaning. Everything connects. Everything supports everything else. The castle itself depends upon these invisible connections. Most people never stop to think about them. The kitchen workers do. Because they see them every day. As the afternoon deepens, some workers share quiet conversations while completing their tasks. Nothing dramatic. Nothing important. Simple observations. Comments about the weather. Thoughts about the harvest. News from nearby villages. Small pieces of everyday life. The conversations drift gently through the room. Then fade. Then return. The kitchen feels lived in. Not merely used. But lived in. The workers spend so much time here that it becomes a second home. They know its sounds. Its smells. Its rhythms. They can often tell the time of day simply by observing the activities around them. Morning bread. Midday soup. Afternoon preparation. Evening roasting. The schedule has become part of them. Near the largest hearth, the fire tender checks the wood supply. Several stacks remain ready for use. He nods with quiet satisfaction. A well-stocked woodpile brings peace of mind. The fires must never be allowed to fail. Especially when meals are approaching. Preparation prevents problems. This lesson appears everywhere in medieval life. The kitchen lives by it. The afternoon slowly continues. Hours pass almost unnoticed. The workers remain busy. Yet the atmosphere stays calm. The castle above hums with activity. Messengers come and go. Guards patrol walls. Craftsmen complete repairs. Life moves forward. And beneath it all, the kitchen remains the steady foundation. A place where ordinary people perform essential work. A place where skill is built through repetition. A place where experience grows quietly over years. The baker checks another batch of dough. The cook examines stored vegetables. The servant arranges herbs. The boy carries wood. Each person contributes. Each person belongs. Together they create something larger than themselves. Not merely meals, but continuity. The continuation of daily life. The continuation of tradition. The continuation of routines that have shaped castle living for generations. Outside, the sun begins its slow journey toward the western sky. The afternoon grows older. The evening meal waits somewhere ahead. Soon preparations will become more serious once again. The temporary calm will give way to fresh activity. New dishes. New fires. New tasks. But for now, the kitchen enjoys this gentle stretch of afternoon. A quiet chapter within the day. A moment of steady work beneath warm sunlight and drifting herb scents. And among the stone walls blackened by centuries of smoke, the people of the kitchen continue their lives. One task at a time. One day at a time. One meal at a time. Just as those before them once did. And just as those who come after will do again. The afternoon slowly drifts toward evening. Outside the castle walls, the sunlight has begun to soften. The bright white light of midday gradually turns warmer. Long shadows stretch across the fields. The distant hills seem calmer now, wrapped in the gentle colors of the late day. The castle continues its work. Guards remain at their posts. Craftsmen finish the last tasks of the afternoon. Stable workers care for horses before night approaches. Servants move through hallways carrying supplies and messages. Everywhere, the day continues. Yet inside the kitchen, a familiar change begins to unfold. The evening meal is approaching. And with it comes another wave of preparation. The brief quiet hours of the afternoon are ending. The workers know this without needing reminders. The rhythm of the day lives inside them. They can almost feel the approaching meal. The baker glances toward the ovens. The cooks gather ingredients. The fire tenders inspect the hearths. Everyone understands what comes next. The kitchen is waking once more into greater activity. At one of the preparation tables, vegetables are arranged in neat piles. Onions, carrots, turnips, leeks, cabbages. The vegetables brought earlier from fields and gardens now await their turn. A cook begins chopping. The knife moves steadily across the wooden board. Slice, slice, slice. The sound joins the familiar music of the room. Nearby, another worker begins washing fresh herbs. Tiny droplets of water cling to green leaves. The scent rises immediately. Fresh and earthy. The smell mixes with wood smoke and warm bread. Together they create the atmosphere of the castle kitchen. A scent impossible to mistake for anywhere else. The young kitchen boy moves through the room carrying baskets. His feet know these paths well now. He no longer hesitates before tasks. He no longer feels lost among the bustle. The kitchen is becoming familiar. The workers are becoming familiar. The routines are becoming familiar. Day by day, he feels more like part of this world. He passes the baker's table. Fresh dough rests beneath cloth coverings. The baker checks each batch carefully. The dough rises slowly in the warmth. Patience remains important. The baker never rushes. He has learned that good bread follows its own schedule. Not the schedule people wish for, but the schedule nature allows. The lesson applies to many things. The seasons, the harvest, the weather, life itself. Many important things cannot be hurried. The kitchen understands this deeply. Across the room, the older cook examines a large piece of fish delivered earlier in the day. She studies it carefully. Already she is considering the evening meal. The ingredients available. The number of people expected. The supplies that must remain for tomorrow. Every decision requires thought. A successful kitchen balances today's needs with tomorrow's needs. Experience teaches this balance. The cook has learned it through many years beside the hearth. The great fire burns steadily. Orange flames flicker beneath hanging pots. Occasionally a log shifts and settles. A shower of tiny sparks rises briefly before disappearing. The warmth fills the room. Even as the outdoor air begins cooling slightly, the kitchen remains comfortable. The fire creates its own season. Its own climate. Its own world. One of the fire tenders adds another log. The flames respond immediately. Growing brighter. Stronger. The fire tender watches for a moment. Then nods with satisfaction. A good fire is like a trusted companion. Reliable. Predictable. Essential. Without it, much of the kitchen's work becomes impossible. As the afternoon advances, servants begin bringing empty dishes back from various parts of the castle. The midday meal has fully passed. Bowls arrive stacked carefully. Wooden spoons are collected. Pitchers are returned. Cleaning begins again. Large tubs of water stand ready. The workers wash each item thoroughly. The task is repetitive. Yet there is comfort in repetition. Many jobs within the kitchen follow familiar patterns. Wash. Dry. Store. Repeat. The rhythm creates order. And order helps the kitchen function smoothly. Near one window, sunlight falls across a row of hanging herbs. The bundles sway gently in a faint breeze. For a moment they seem almost golden. Tiny shadows dance across the stone wall behind them. The sight is simple, yet beautiful in its own quiet way. The kitchen contains many such moments. Small moments often unnoticed. Moments hidden within ordinary work. The older servant responsible for supplies walks slowly through the storage areas. His attention remains fixed upon the shelves. He checks barrels. Counts sacks. Examines preserved foods. The evening meal will use some of these supplies. Tomorrow will use more. Winter will eventually require even more. Planning never ends. A castle survives through preparation. The kitchen stands at the center of that preparation. Outside, the sounds of the castle gradually change. The busy energy of midday begins softening. Workers complete their final tasks. Some tools are returned to storage. Some carts begin their journeys home. The atmosphere becomes quieter. More peaceful. The day is not ending yet. But evening is approaching. Inside the kitchen, preparations continue steadily. Vegetables are transferred into waiting pots. Herbs are added. Water begins heating. The scent of cooking slowly returns. Each ingredient contributes something new. A fragrance. A flavor. A memory. The kitchen fills with gentle aromas. One cook tastes a simmering broth. Another adjusts seasoning. The work requires attention. Small changes matter. Experience guides every decision. The younger workers watch carefully. Every day offers opportunities to learn. Knowledge lives everywhere in the kitchen. In recipes remembered by heart. In techniques passed from hand to hand. In habits developed through years of practice. The kitchen boy pauses briefly beside one of the windows. Outside, he can see the courtyard. The sunlight now stretches long across the stone ground. A few birds cross the sky. Workers move more slowly than before. The day feels older. For a moment he simply watches. Then he returns to work. There is always work. And somehow, that feels comforting. The kitchen never leaves anyone wondering what should happen next. The next task always waits nearby. The next responsibility always appears. The next meal is always approaching. The certainty provides structure. A dependable rhythm in a changing world. As late afternoon deepens, the kitchen grows busier once more. The calm hours are fading. More ingredients appear on tables. More pots are placed above fires. More servants prepare trays and bowls. The evening meal is drawing closer. The workers move with quiet confidence. They have done this countless times before. They know exactly what must happen. The fires glow warmly. The scent of herbs drifts through the air. Bread continues baking. Water simmers gently in iron pots. The castle kitchen feels alive. Not loud. Not frantic. Simply alive. A place where effort and routine combine to create comfort. A place where ordinary work sustains an entire community. Outside, the sun begins lowering toward the horizon. Golden light touches the castle towers. The shadows lengthen further. The evening approaches with slow, steady steps. And deep within the stone walls, the kitchen prepares to feed the castle once again. The next meal is coming. The next chapter of the day is beginning. And the warm heart of the castle continues beating beside its ancient fires. The sun now hangs low above the horizon. Outside the castle walls, the day is beginning its slow farewell. The fields glow with soft golden light. Long shadows stretch across roads and meadows. The distant countryside seems quieter than before, as though the land itself is preparing for rest. Within the castle, the mood also begins to change. The busiest hours of labor are drawing to a close. Workers finish their final tasks. Tools are returned to their places. Animals are settled for the night. Doors are checked. Courtyards gradually become less crowded. The long day has been a productive one. And now, thoughts naturally turn toward supper. Deep within the kitchen, preparations are reaching their final stages. The fires burn brightly. Iron pots simmer gently. Fresh bread rests upon wooden racks. The air is rich with comforting scents. Vegetables. Herbs. Warm broth. Freshly baked bread. Wood smoke. All the familiar fragrances of the kitchen mingle together beneath the dark wooden beams overhead. The workers move with calm purpose. There is more activity now than there was an hour ago. Yet nobody appears rushed. The evening meal is important, but experience has taught everyone exactly what to do. The rhythm guides them. As it always does. The older cook stands beside a large pot. Steam curls upward around her face. She lifts a wooden spoon and tastes the broth. Only a small sip. Just enough. She nods quietly. The flavor is right. The meal is nearly ready. Nearby, another cook slices fresh bread. The crust crackles softly beneath the knife. Each loaf reveals a warm interior. The scent immediately grows stronger. Few smells are more welcoming after a long day than fresh bread. Perhaps because it promises comfort. Perhaps because it promises rest. Perhaps because it reminds people that they are home. Whatever the reason, the smell spreads gently throughout the kitchen. The young kitchen boy helps arrange serving trays. His movements are more confident now than they were when the day began. The tasks feel familiar. The kitchen feels familiar. The workers around him feel familiar. He still has much to learn. But he is beginning to belong. One day, he may stand where the older cooks stand now. One day, another young servant may watch him and learn. The cycle continues. Generation after generation. Knowledge passed quietly from one pair of hands to another. The great castle has witnessed this process countless times. As the final preparations continue, servants begin gathering near the kitchen entrance. Soon they will carry the meal throughout the castle. The same staircases. The same corridors. The same routes traveled every day. Yet somehow each journey feels important. For people are waiting. Hungry after a long day's work. Ready to gather together. Ready to eat. Ready to enjoy a few peaceful moments before night fully arrives. The first trays leave the kitchen. Bowls filled with steaming food. Fresh bread. Pitchers of drink. The servants move carefully. Their footsteps echo softly through the stone passages. The familiar procession begins once more. The evening meal is on its way. Above, the great hall gradually fills. The room glows warmly in the fading light. Sunshine still enters through the high windows, but its strength is fading. Soon candles and firelight will take over. For now, the hall exists between day and night. A gentle, peaceful moment. People arrive steadily. Workers, servants, guards, guests. Each takes a place at the long tables. Conversations remain quiet. The mood feels relaxed. The hardest work of the day is mostly finished. People can finally sit. Finally rest. Finally eat. The first bowls arrive. Steam rises into the cooling air. The smell spreads quickly through the hall. People smile softly. Not because the meal is luxurious, but because it is warm. And after a day of labor, warmth matters. Warm food. Warm light. Warm company. These simple comforts mean much. The kitchen understands this. The workers who prepared the meal understand this. Food is more than survival. It is also reassurance. A reminder that another day has been completed. Back below, the kitchen remains busy. Not every worker leaves with the food. Many stay behind. More dishes may still be needed. Additional bread may be requested. Cleaning has already begun in some corners. The kitchen lives slightly ahead of everyone else. While others enjoy the meal, the workers are already thinking about what comes next. The evening does not end with serving food. There is still work to do. There is always work to do. One of the fire tenders kneels beside the hearth. The flames dance before him. Orange and gold. Bright against the dark stone. He watches carefully. The fires must remain controlled. Strong enough to be useful. Not so strong as to be dangerous. Balance matters. The lesson appears everywhere in the kitchen. Balance in cooking. Balance in storage. Balance in planning. Balance in fire. The castle depends upon such careful attention. Outside, the sky begins changing colors. Golden tones deepen into shades of orange and red. The countryside grows quieter. Birds settle among trees. The evening breeze carries the scent of grass and earth. The day is slowly folding itself away. Within the great hall, the meal continues. Bread is shared. Bowls are emptied. Voices drip gently through the room. People discuss the day's events. A repaired fence. A successful harvest. News from a nearby village. Small stories. Ordinary stories. The kind that fill most human lives. The kitchen may not hear these conversations directly. Yet it helps make them possible. Meals create gathering places. Gathering places create conversation. Conversation creates community. In this way, the influence of the kitchen reaches far beyond food itself. Back near the hearths, the older cook pauses briefly. For a moment she simply listens. The crackling fire. The distant movement of servants. The soft sounds of work continuing around her. The kitchen feels familiar. Comforting. She has spent so many years here that the sounds seem woven into her memory. They accompany every season. Every year. Every chapter of life. The kitchen changes slowly. People come and go. Yet the essential rhythm remains. Fire. Food. Work. Rest. Then beginning again. The sunlight outside fades further. Soon the windows no longer provide enough illumination. Candles are lit. Their small flames flicker gently. The kitchen takes on a different appearance. Softer. Warmer. More intimate. Shadows dance across the walls. The room seems quieter somehow. Though work continues. The evening meal gradually approaches its conclusion. Empty bowls begin returning. Servants carry them carefully back toward the kitchen. The first signs of another transition appear. Eating gives way to cleaning. Gathering gives way to preparation for night. The workers know the pattern well. The pattern repeats every day. And perhaps that repetition is part of what makes it comforting. There are few surprises. The next step is always known. The next task always waits patiently. The next responsibility always arrives. The kitchen continues moving forward. Steadily. Reliably. Like the turning of the seasons. Like the setting of the sun. Outside, twilight begins spreading across the land. The fields darken. The roads grow quiet. The towers of the castle stand against a deepening sky. And inside the warm kitchen, beneath beams darkened by years of smoke, another evening meal draws to a peaceful close. The fires still glow. The scent of bread still lingers. The workers continue their duties. And the castle slowly prepares for night. Twilight settles gently across the castle. Outside, the last traces of daylight linger along the horizon. The fields beyond the walls have grown quiet. The roads that seemed busy during the afternoon now appear nearly empty. A cool evening breeze drifts through the countryside, moving softly through grass and leaves. The day is not yet over. But it is beginning to rest. Within the castle, lamps and candles now provide most of the light. Their small flames flicker in hallways and chambers. Shadows stretch along stone walls. Voices become softer. Footsteps become fewer. A peaceful calm slowly spreads through the castle. Deep below, inside the kitchen, the evening meal has ended. The busiest part of the day has passed. Yet the kitchen is far from silent. In many ways, another important phase has just begun. The phase of cleaning. Of organizing. Of preparing for tomorrow. The workers understand that a successful morning begins the night before. A kitchen left in disorder creates problems when dawn arrives. A kitchen left prepared creates comfort. So even after a long day, the work continues. Empty bowls return from the great hall. Wooden trays arrive stacked carefully. Pitchers are carried back. Spoons are gathered. Each item must be cleaned. Each item must be stored. Each item must be ready for use again. The rhythm remains steady. The young kitchen boy helps carry dishes toward large washing tubs. The water feels cool against his hands. He scrubs carefully. Years from now, he may not remember every meal he helped serve. But he will remember these routines. The smell of soap and wood. The warmth of the hearth. The sound of water splashing into tubs. These small details become part of life. Part of memory. Around him, other workers continue their tasks. One servant dries wooden bowls with a clean cloth. Another stacks them neatly upon shelves. The shelves slowly fill. Row after row of carefully arranged kitchenware. Everything has its place. Everything belongs somewhere. Order matters. The kitchen depends upon it. Near the great hearth, the fire tender begins adjusting the flames. The enormous fire that cooks supper no longer needs to burn at full strength. Some logs are allowed to burn down. Others are moved. The fire becomes smaller. Gentler. Still useful. Still warm. But calmer now. Like the day itself. The fire tender watches closely. A completely extinguished hearth can create difficulties in the morning. A few living embers are valuable. If protected carefully through the night, they can help awaken tomorrow's fire. This knowledge has been passed through generations. The workers understand the importance of preserving warmth, preserving effort, preserving time. The older cook moves slowly through the kitchen. Her responsibilities are not finished yet. She examines the remaining supplies from the day. A few onions remain on one table. Some herbs rest beside another. Bread is counted carefully. Nothing is ignored. Nothing is wasted. Every item receives attention. She notes what was used, what remains, what may be needed tomorrow. The work requires memory, experience, patience, qualities developed slowly over many years. Outside, the sky darkens further. The first stars begin appearing above the castle. Tiny points of light scattered across the heavens. Most of the kitchen workers cannot see them from inside. Yet they know they are there. Night is arriving. The castle feels different at night. Quieter. More reflective. The energy of the day slowly gives way to stillness. The kitchen experiences this change as well. The sounds become softer. The conversations become fewer. Many workers focus quietly upon their final tasks. One servant sweeps the floor. The broom moves steadily across the worn stone. Small crumbs disappear. Bits of straw are gathered. The floor slowly becomes clean once more. The task is simple, yet important. A clean kitchen creates a better beginning tomorrow. The kitchen has learned this lesson through countless years. Nearby, another worker wipes down preparation tables. The wood bears marks from years of use. Knife marks. Scratches. Signs of work completed long ago. The tables have witnessed thousands of meals. Thousands of ordinary days. They remain dependable, reliable companions in the daily routine. The young kitchen boy pauses for a moment beside one of the windows. Outside, darkness is spreading across the courtyard. A few lanterns glow in the distance. Their light appears small against the night. The courtyard that seemed so busy earlier now feels peaceful. Almost empty. The boy watches for a moment. Then returns to work. Tomorrow will bring another day. Another morning. Another cycle of meals. There is comfort in knowing that the kitchen never truly reaches an ending. Only pauses. Temporary pauses before beginning again. At one corner of the room, herbs continue drying from wooden beams overhead. The bundles sway gently whenever someone passes beneath them. Their scent still lingers in the warm air. Even after a long day of cooking, the fragrance remains. A quiet reminder of gardens beyond the walls. Of sunlight. Of growing things. The kitchen contains traces of many worlds. Fields. Forests. Gardens. Rivers. All brought together beneath one roof. The older servant responsible for supplies completes his final inspection. Barrels remain secure. Sacks remain dry. Nothing appears out of place. Satisfied, he nods quietly. Preparation brings peace of mind. The workers understand this deeply. Many aspects of life remain uncertain. Weather. Harvests. Travel. Yet careful preparation offers stability. The kitchen depends upon that stability. As the evening deepens, some workers begin leaving for the night. Their duties are finished. Tomorrow they will return before dawn. As they always do. A few exchange quiet farewells. Others simply nod. The atmosphere remains gentle. No rush. No noise. Only tired people completing another honest day of work. The remaining workers continue tending the final tasks. The fires burn lower. The washing nears completion. The shelves stand organized. The floor is clean. The kitchen slowly transforms from a place of activity into a place of waiting. Waiting for morning. Waiting for footsteps. Waiting for firelight. Waiting for another day. Outside, the moon rises above the countryside. Its pale light touches the castle towers. Silver shadows stretch across the landscape. The world feels calm. Almost sleepy. Within the kitchen, the last candles flicker softly. Their light reflects from metal pots hanging on the walls. Tiny movements of flame create dancing shadows. The room seems larger at night. Quieter. Full of memories. If these walls could speak, they would tell countless stories. Stories of feasts and ordinary suppers. Stories of hard winters and abundant harvests. Stories of workers long gone. Stories of generations who stood beside the same hearths. Yet the walls remain silent. They simply endure. Watching one day follow another. Watching life continue. The older cook glances once more around the room. Everything appears ready. Everything appears prepared. Tomorrow's workers will find the kitchen waiting for them. The thought brings satisfaction. A job completed well. A responsibility fulfilled. The final tasks conclude. The remaining embers glow softly within the hearth. The last bowls rest upon their shelves. The herbs hang quietly overhead. The stone floor shines faintly in the candle light. The kitchen is ready for night. And beyond the castle walls, beneath a sky filled with stars, the medieval world settles gently into darkness. The fires sleep. The workers rest. The castle grows still. And the heart of the kitchen waits patiently for dawn. Night has fully arrived. The sun is long gone now. Beyond the castle walls, the countryside rests beneath a sky scattered with countless stars. The moon hangs above distant fields and forests, casting a pale silver light across the sleeping land. The roads are quiet. The farms are quiet. The villages are quiet. Even the wind seems softer now. The world has settled into stillness. The castle stands watch beneath the night sky. Its towers rise above the darkness. Its stone walls seem almost timeless in the moonlight. Most of the people inside are asleep. Servants rest beneath wool blankets. Guards not on duty sleep in shared chambers. Craftsmen enjoy a few precious hours of rest before another day begins. The Lord and his family sleep in their private rooms. One by one, the castle has surrendered to the night. Yet not everyone sleeps. And not every room is silent. Deep within the castle, the kitchen remains awake in its own small way. The busy work of the day has ended. The washing is finished. The floors are clean. The tables stand empty. But a few workers remain. Their responsibilities continue through the darkness. Near the great hearth sits an older fire tender. His work requires patience more than activity. He watches the embers. Small pockets of orange glow softly beneath a layer of gray ash. The great flames that filled the kitchen earlier have disappeared. Only their memory remains. Yet those memories are important. Within the embers lives tomorrow's fire. If cared for properly, the remaining heat can help awaken the kitchen when dawn arrives. The fire tender understands this. He has spent many nights beside fading hearths. Many nights listening to the quiet sounds of a sleeping castle. The kitchen feels different now. Without the movement of workers. Without the clatter of bowls. Without the voices of cooks. The room seems larger. The shadows seem deeper. The silence feels almost sacred. The fire tender adds a small piece of wood. Not enough to create large flames. Just enough to preserve the heat. The ember responds with a faint glow. A tiny pulse of orange light. Then stillness returns. Nearby, a single candle burns. Its flame dances gently whenever a draft passes through the room. The light reaches only a short distance. Beyond it, darkness fills the corners. The hanging herbs sway slightly overhead. The bundles cast long shadows upon the walls. Everything appears calm. Everything appears at peace. Outside, an owl calls from somewhere beyond the castle walls. The sound drifts briefly through the night. Then fades. The fire tender listens. For a moment he simply sits. There is no hurry. No meal to prepare. No bread to bake. Only quiet observation. The night offers something rare within the busy life of the kitchen. Stillness. Most hours are filled with tasks. Filled with responsibilities. Filled with movement. But now there is only waiting. The castle itself seems to breathe more slowly. Footsteps are rare. Voices almost non-existent. Even the guards patrolling the walls move quietly. The night encourages gentleness. Elsewhere within the castle, another worker performs a final inspection. A steward walks through several storage rooms carrying a lantern. Its warm light reveals shelves lined with supplies. Barrels stand neatly arranged. Sacks of grain remain stacked carefully. Nothing appears disturbed. Nothing appears out of place. The steward moves slowly. Years of experience have taught him caution. A problem discovered at night can often be solved before morning. And small problems are always easier than large ones. His inspection continues. One room after another. Everything appears secure. Everything appears ready. Satisfied, he returns toward his chamber. The kitchen and its supplies can rest peacefully. Back near the hearth, the fire tender remains beside the embers. The warmth feels pleasant against the coolness of the night. Outside the kitchen walls, temperatures have begun falling. Stone retains some warmth from the day. But slowly, steadily, the castle cools. The embers become even more valuable. A small source of comfort within the darkness. The fire tender remembers many winters. Many cold nights. Many mornings when snow covered the countryside. He remembers how important the hearth became during those seasons. The kitchen often felt like the warmest place in the castle. A refuge from cold winds and frozen ground. Tonight is not winter. Yet the memory remains. The hearth has always been more than a place for cooking. It is a place of warmth. A place of gathering. A place of continuity. Generations have sat beside similar fires. Generations have depended upon them. The thought feels comforting somehow. The night continues deepening. The moon climbs higher. Silver light reaches through a narrow window. A pale beam stretches across part of the floor. Dust drifts through the moonlight. Tiny particles floating silently through the darkness. The kitchen seems suspended between yesterday and tomorrow. Between work completed and work yet to come. A place of quiet waiting. The young kitchen boy sleeps now in a servant's chamber elsewhere in the castle. His day began before sunrise. It was filled with tasks. With lessons. With observations. Tomorrow will bring more of the same. And slowly, almost without noticing, he will continue learning. The kitchen teaches through repetition. Through experience. Through ordinary days. Years from now, many of these moments will blend together. Yet they will shape him all the same. The older cook sleeps as well. Her hands finally rest after a long day. Tomorrow she will once again oversee meals. Check supplies. Guide younger workers. Taste soups. Plan ahead. The routine will continue. As it always does. The baker rests. The servants rest. The guards rotate through their watches. The castle breathes quietly beneath the stars. And the kitchen waits. Patiently. Near the hearth, the fire tender rises slowly. He walks around the room one final time. His lantern creates moving shadows along the walls. He checks the tables. The shelves. The ovens. Everything appears exactly as it should. The kitchen is secure. Prepared. Ready for morning. He returns to the hearth. The embers still glow faintly beneath the ash. Small islands of warmth hidden within the darkness. He smiles softly. Tomorrow's fire sleeps there. Tomorrow's bread. Tomorrow's soup. Tomorrow's meals. All waiting quietly inside those tiny points of light. The thought carries a certain beauty. Not dramatic beauty. Not grand beauty. A simpler beauty. The beauty of continuity. Of knowing that life will begin again with the sunrise. Outside, clouds drift slowly across part of the sky. For a few moments, the moon disappears. The courtyard grows darker. The towers become silhouettes against the night. Then the clouds pass. The moonlight returns. Everything remains calm. Everything remains unchanged. Hours pass quietly. The castle sleeps. The kitchen sleeps. Only the embers remain awake. Glowing softly. Patiently. Guarding the last warmth of the day. And somewhere beyond the eastern horizon, unseen and distant, another dawn is already beginning its slow journey toward the castle. The workers do not know it yet. The birds do not know it yet. The sleeping fields do not know it yet. But morning is coming. As it always comes. Slowly. Gently. Certain as the turning of the seasons. And the kitchen waits in peaceful silence for the first light of a brand new day. The night is at its deepest. Most of the castle remains asleep. The moon has crossed high above the towers and now slowly begins its journey toward the western horizon. Stars continue to shine above the countryside, scattered across the dark sky like tiny points of silver. The world feels still. Very still. Even the wind seems tired. Beyond the castle walls, fields rest beneath a blanket of darkness. The roads are empty. The forests stand silent. The rivers move quietly through the sleeping land. For a little while longer, night remains the ruler of the world. Yet change is already beginning. Far beyond the eastern horizon, where no one can yet see it, a new day slowly approaches. The castle does not know this. Not yet. The workers remain asleep. The kitchens remain dark. The halls remain empty. But time continues moving forward. As it always does. Deep within the kitchen, the embers still glow beneath their blanket of ash. Tiny pockets of orange light remain hidden within the great hearth. The fire tender who watched over them earlier has finally gone to rest. His duties are complete. Now the kitchen waits alone. Quiet. Patient. Peaceful. The room seems almost frozen in time. The wooden tables stand empty. The knives rest where they were placed. The baskets sit quietly upon shelves. The hanging herbs sway only slightly whenever a faint draft passes through the room. Nothing moves. Nothing speaks. The kitchen appears asleep. Yet even in sleep, it prepares for awakening. The embers preserve a small piece of yesterday. A bridge connecting one day to the next. Hours pass. Slowly. The stars shift overhead. The moon lowers. The darkness changes almost too gradually to notice. Then, at last, the first signs arrive. Not sunlight. Not yet. Something gentler. The darkness itself begins to soften. The eastern horizon grows slightly less black. A faint grayness appears. Barely visible. Easy to miss. Yet it is there. Morning has begun its long return. Inside the castle, a few workers begin stirring in their beds. Not fully awake. Just beginning. The body often learns the rhythm of daily life. After years of rising before dawn, many workers no longer need reminders. Their bodies understand. Morning is approaching. The day is waiting. One of the first to awaken is the young kitchen boy. His sleeping chamber is simple. A narrow bed. A wool blanket. A small wooden chest. Nothing luxurious. Yet after a long day of work, it feels comfortable enough. He opens his eyes. For a moment he lies still. The room remains dark. Other servants continue sleeping nearby. The silence feels peaceful. Then slowly he sits up. Another day has arrived. Another day in the kitchen. Another day of learning. Another day of carrying wood, fetching water, and watching experienced hands transform simple ingredients into meals. He dresses quietly, trying not to disturb those still sleeping. Outside the small window, the sky remains mostly dark. Yet the first hint of dawn is visible. A pale line far away. The boy notices it briefly, then begins walking toward the kitchen. His footsteps echo softly through empty corridors. The castle feels completely different at this hour. During the day, the halls are filled with activity. Voices. Footsteps. Movement. Now they feel calm and mysterious. Almost dreamlike. The walls seem older somehow in the darkness. The shadows seem deeper. The boy walks steadily. He knows the route well. Soon he reaches the kitchen. The door creaks softly as it opens. Cool air greets him. The room remains mostly dark. Only the faint glow of hidden embers provides any light. The kitchen appears asleep. But not for much longer. The boy sets down the small bundle of kindling he carried. Then approaches the hearth. He kneels carefully beside the ashes. The warmth remains. Barely. Yet enough. The embers survived. Just as they usually do. A small smile appears on his face. This means less work. This means the fire can be awakened rather than rebuilt entirely. Soon another worker arrives. Then another. The earliest members of the kitchen staff begin returning. Quiet greetings are exchanged. Soft voices fill the darkness. The kitchen is beginning to wake. The fire tender arrives shortly afterward. His experienced eyes immediately seek the embers. He nods with satisfaction. The warmth remains exactly where he left it. Carefully, he adds dry straw. Then small twigs. Nothing large. Nothing rushed. The fire must be encouraged. Not forced. The embers respond slowly. A faint glow becomes brighter. A tiny spark appears. Then another. A thin thread of smoke rises upward. The workers watch patiently. They know this process well. Every morning begins this way. Every morning begins with a small flame. Soon the spark becomes fire. The first flame of the new day flickers gently within the hearth. Its light dances across the stone walls. The kitchen no longer feels asleep. Warm colors return. Orange, gold, soft yellow. The room begins breathing once more. Additional wood is added. The flame grows steadily. The crackling sound returns. A familiar sound. A comforting sound. The sound of another working day beginning. Outside, dawn continues spreading across the sky. The eastern horizon brightens. Dark blue becomes gray. Gray becomes pale silver. Birds begin stirring in distant trees. The countryside slowly awakens. Inside the kitchen, the workers return to their routines. The rhythm begins again. Water must be gathered. Floors inspected. Supplies checked. Ovens prepared. The tasks are familiar. Almost comforting in their predictability. The older cook arrives. She pauses briefly near the hearth. The warmth touches her face. The scent of wood smoke fills the air. For a moment she simply stands there. Then she begins her work. The baker arrives soon after. Already thinking about dough. Already thinking about flour. Already planning the bread that will feed the castle today. The cycle continues. Exactly as it did yesterday. Exactly as it will tomorrow. One day flowing naturally into the next. Outside, the first true sunlight appears. Golden light touches the highest tower. Then another. Then another. The castle emerges from darkness. Slowly. Gracefully. Like a great stone ship sailing into morning. The kitchen grows brighter. The fires burn stronger. The workers move with growing confidence. The day has officially begun. A new chapter unfolds. The same castle. The same kitchen. The same hearth. Yet somehow every morning feels fresh. A new opportunity. A new beginning. A new day waiting to be filled with ordinary tasks and simple moments. And perhaps that is the quiet beauty of life inside a medieval castle kitchen. Not grand events. Not dramatic changes. But continuity. The steady comfort of routines repeated across years and generations. The certainty that when one day ends, another will gently take its place. The certainty that the fire will return. The bread will rise. The soup will simmer. The workers will gather. And life will continue. Just as the first rays of sunlight now spill through the kitchen windows. Just as the fires glow warmly once more. Just as another peaceful day begins beneath the ancient stone walls of the castle. And so, as the first light of a new morning settles softly upon the castle walls, we leave the kitchen where we found it. The fires burn quietly once more. The baker prepares his dough. The cooks gather their herbs and vegetables. The servants move through familiar doorways. The young kitchen boy begins another day of learning. Outside, the countryside awakens beneath a pale golden sky. Birds sing from distant trees. Mist drifts above the fields. The world slowly opens its eyes. Nothing extraordinary has happened. No great battle has been fought. No famous visitor has arrived. No grand event has changed the course of history. Instead, we have spent our time among the ordinary moments that filled countless days of medieval life. The crackle of a hearth. The scent of fresh bread. The warmth of soup simmering in an iron pot. The careful hands of workers performing tasks they knew by heart. These small moments rarely appear in history books. Yet they formed the rhythm of everyday life. They filled the years between great events. They nourished families, travelers, servants, guards, and nobles alike. They gave shape to ordinary days. And ordinary days, repeated again and again, became entire lives. The castle kitchen remains behind us now. Its stone walls still standing. Its hearth still glowing. Its workers still moving quietly through the endless cycle of preparation, cooking, serving, cleaning, and beginning again. Morning follows night. Night follows morning. The seasons turn. Years pass. Generations come and go. Yet somewhere, deep within the heart of the castle, a small fire continues to burn. Patient. Steady. Reliable. A quiet reminder that life is often built not from grand moments, but from simple ones. A loaf of bread shared at a table. A warm meal after a long day's work. A familiar routine repeated with care. The sun climbs a little higher. The kitchen grows brighter. Voices begin to fill the room once more. Another ordinary day is underway. And as we gently step away from the warm hearth and the smell of fresh bread, the sounds of the kitchen gradually fade into the distance. The crackling fire grows softer. The footsteps become quieter. The voices drift away. Until only a peaceful stillness remains. And there, beneath the ancient stone walls, the medieval castle kitchen continues its quiet work, carrying on exactly as it always has, while the morning light spreads gently across the land. The fire glows. The bread rises. The day begins. And all is calm. Crescent moon sparkles.